It all started with a letter. The year was 1972. Brian Clough was riding high in the league with Derby County, Edward Heath was in 10 Downing Street, and England retained the Ashes. It was also the year the great Sir Howard Evans, one of the most distinguished editors of our paper, instructed his team to run an exposé on wine fraud. In particular, the practice of dishonest labelling. Believe it or not, people were bottling wines here in London under the names of famous French wine-producing villages when they were nothing of the sort. Some had come from North Africa, and sometimes wine bottled as Chablis and Meursault came from the same tank. This prompted a letter from the great Tony Laithwaite, who had started his career washing bottles in Bordeaux. Tony wrote that his young company, now nestled down the road under a railway arch in Windsor, had no truck with fake wine, as he imported directly from the growers in France. In his words, chateau bottled clarets from chateaux that do actually exist. Harry Evans published the letter in full. A few reader offers ensued, and a year later, at the end of October 1973, the Sunday Times Wine Club was born. But the club needed a president, and who better than the great wine writer Hugh Johnson? With Tony hunting through the vineyards of France, the selection panel was completed by Alan Hall. Those early years must have been enormous fun, as Hugh and Tony traversed the globe, often with members in tow, to find new wines. Cruise ships were chartered, private planes were hired, and a festival in London was launched, which still takes place every year in May. But the club was groundbreaking too. In 1975, we launched the first mixed case of Eastern European wines for the princely sum of £10.40. In 1979, Hugh predicted the success of Chile 2 decades before it became mainstream. And in 1988, the club introduced the world to flying winemakers. Amidst all this success and growth, there were a few mishaps along the way. The club tie was launched in 1979, never to be repeated. From the very beginning, the club recognised that wine can bring people together and forge friendships over a shared interest. So, in partnership with the Times, we took the club live again. From tutored masterclasses in London, pop-up tastings at the Cheltenham Literature Festival, and fine wine events for subscribers. In 2019, we reintroduced a river cruise down the Rhone Valley. And we've embraced the digital age, reinventing the in-house magazine, Wine Times, into an award-winning podcast. Today, the Sunday Times Wine Club is one of the largest in the world, with more than 1,500 wines from 23 different countries, with tastings, tours, and an annual wine festival. Tony once told me that all he really wanted to do was to bring back to Britain a little of the passion for wine he experienced as a young man in the southwest of France. Well, I think he's done that. And I think we're very lucky to have this collaboration with Tony, Barbara, and Hugh, and everyone at the Times.